The memorial lights of Outpost Kepri were designed to imitate sunrise, but no artificial dawn could soften the weight in the air that night, and every being in the garden felt it like gravity pressing down on their bones as Ambassador Sira Tal knelt before a small crystal marker that reflected the glow of 3 orbiting moons. She traced her daughter's name over and over as if repetition could reverse reality. Her bioluminescent skin dimmed to a morning gray, and across the garden a human mechanic named Daniel Reyes stood frozen with a diagnostic tablet in his hands, pretending to troubleshoot a broken irrigation node because he did not know how to interrupt grief that deep, yet he also knew something that made silence feel like a crime. 3 weeks earlier the refugee transport carrying Sira's family had ruptured inside a debris storm, and the official rescue sweep declared 4 missing souls unrecoverable, including 1 juvenile, and the collective had already performed the sacred rites that marked a life as finished. A ritual that could not be undone without psychological risk according to every xenocultural protocol ever written. But Daniel had been off shift that night and stubborn in the way only humans could be stubborn, running his own trajectory math because something about the wreck pattern bothered him, and his unauthorized salvage shuttle had found a tiny escape capsule drifting in a pocket of frozen gas invisible to standard scans, its beacon shattered, its power dying, and inside he had found a child curled into herself, skin flickering weakly like a star about to burn out. He had wrapped her in thermal foil and talked to her the whole flight back even though she barely understood his words, promising her that she was safe now, that someone would fix this, that the dark did not get to win today. And for 6 days she hovered between existence and absence while medics rewrote their textbooks in real time to keep her alive, and when she finally whispered her name and asked for her mother, Daniel felt the station tilt under his feet because he knew exactly whose daughter she was. And command told him to wait, to respect ritual, to avoid destabilizing a grieving ambassador, to be rational. But rational felt obscene when a child woke up crying every night asking if her mother thought she was dead. Now he stood in the memorial garden listening to Sira's breath hitch as she mourned an empty grave, and the decision crystallized in him with a clarity that burned, and he stepped forward before fear could argue, saying softly, "Ambassador," and when she turned her eyes were hollow in a way that made his chest ache. And she told him she needed solitude, and he answered, "I know, and I'm sorry, but you need to come with me." And when she said nothing mattered because her daughter was gone, he forced the words past the knot in his throat. "She isn't." And the air itself seemed to stop moving. Anger flashed across her skin like lightning. And she warned him not to weaponize hope, and he held out his hand with the steadiness of someone betting his entire life on the next 5 minutes, promising she could punish him however she wished if he was wrong, and something in his voice convinced her to stand. The walk through the station corridors felt longer than any journey Daniel had taken in space, every step a collision between protocol and instinct, and when they reached the recovery ward he stopped outside a quiet room where a small figure sat upright watching drifting holographic clouds, and Sira froze as if struck, whispering that it was impossible, and the child turned at the sound and erupted in light brighter than the artificial sunrise outside, crying out for her mother with a voice that cut through every wall Daniel had built inside himself. Sira stumbled forward and caught her daughter in an embrace so fierce it looked like an attempt to merge 2 bodies into one, her grief detonating into relief that shook the room, and the child spoke through tears about the human who found her in the dark and promised she would come home. And Sira looked up at Daniel with a gaze so luminous it hurt to meet, asking how long he had known, and when he told her the truth, about the eddy current, the damaged beacon, the arguments with command, the weeks of waiting, her expression hardened not at him but at the system that chose ritual over reunion. She pressed her forehead to his in her culture's highest gesture of gratitude and said he had returned the universe to her, and he could only answer that keeping the child safe was enough, that he would do it again without hesitation. When the station commander arrived with rehearsed apologies, Sira dismissed her with ice in her voice, declaring that compassion outranked protocol. And the room settled into a fragile calm where the child insisted Daniel stay and retell the story so her mother would know every detail, from the freezing capsule to the reckless flight back, and as he spoke Sira watched him like someone re-evaluating an entire species in real time. Later, walking back through the memorial garden alone, Daniel paused before the crystal marker that would be removed at dawn and thought about the peculiar human refusal to accept endings when action was still possible. About the way his species ran toward the dark not because they were fearless but because fear was never a good enough excuse to abandon someone small and lost, and he realized that if this story reached home it would sound unbelievable, like myth, but maybe that was what humanity looked like from the outside. Loud, clumsy, stubborn creatures who kept going back into the void for each other. And if you want more stories about the strange ways humans collide with the galaxy, subscribe and stay with me, because this universe is full of nights where someone decides the dark doesn't get the final word.